Hi, Kat. Welcome to the NTM Growth Marketing Podcast. I am excited to speak with you today.
I'm excited to be here too. Thanks, Andrew.
Let's dive in and hear a little bit more about who is Kat. Tell us a little bit about your organization. What are you up to these days?
So that's a great question. Who is Kat? That's a many-layered beast. I am definitely a marketeer. I have been doing some kind of marketing initiative for the last 25 plus years, mostly in either branding or digital agencies. And then I was actually fortunate enough to get recruited over to one of my clients when I was at Arnold, Progressive Insurance,
Mhm.
to run all of their marketing strategy. So I went in-house and ran all of their strategy for 4 years, realized that I'm the beast, a horse of a different color. I'm kind of a free spirit, so to speak, and I like change and I like it to happen fast. So I went back to start my own company, worked for my neighbor for a while, and then restarted my company 4 years ago. So in 2 weeks, Coologee will be 4 years old, and my business partner and I have been tweaking the business strategy, finding places to add the most value, and looking at business models that will sustain us now and into the future. So at Coologee, we believe in the power of brand, and we actually think brand is not being understood or managed as the strategic asset it really is. And so, in many ways, we're on a mission. We're on a mission to prove that brand is business and to show in what way and how.
Mhm.
And so, most of the work we're doing is grounded in that, but then goes into things like reputation management, new rebranding, positioning, campaign launches, marketing organization, reorganizations, and fractional CMO
Mhm.
services.
What's the biggest difference between being a marketer at a large corporate organization and then going off on your own and building up your own consultancy agency?
The speed with which you can try new things. So in a
Which one's
large,
faster?
going off on your own. Actually, it's funny because I remember having a conversation with Trisha, the CEO of Progressive, and she was saying that I had been there for 3 years, and she was saying that I had accomplished a lot of change, but that I should really settle into the change that I had
Mhm.
created.
And you
And
wanted more.
I had so many more ideas, and I'm a creative by nature. I'm a curious person by instinct, and the world we're living in is changing so fast that the idea of just continuing to do the same thing felt like I was missing something. Which is why I'm really well suited for coming in and helping organizations do something they've never done before. Because I have all of that experience. It can be done very quickly, and then there's always trying into new, which allows for us to help our clients kind of leapfrog to the next level without having to go through A, B, and C steps to get to
Mhm.
D.
What is a marketing strategy that you've been working on in 2025 that's proving to be successful?
Yeah. So when you say marketing strategy, um, the way I think about it is integrated and holistic. And so
Mhm.
I'll give an example of a client that we're working with right now who is incredibly insightful and just good, kind family organization. The founder has his son working for him,
Nice.
and they wanted to create a brand from nothing because they had sold off the rights to using their agency name about 3 years ago. And then they also wanted to build their business more independent of some of the strategic partnerships they have. They're affiliated with a financial institution that is very, very well known and one of the largest in the country, but they wanted to be able to be in charge of their future. And so we started 3 years ago creating the name of their company. We named them Can Do Insurance and Can Do Financial because of the notion of the attitude they had. And we have been building out a lead aggregator platform for
Mhm.
them that puts the importance of a human touch first
Mhm.
and uses digital and integrated marketing channels to allow them to bring down the cost of a lead. Because what's interesting is the really, really big players, for example, in insurance, have been going into the aggregator platforms and they're spending upwards of $2,000 per
Mm.
lead. There's no way for an independent agent to be able to pay that money. And so this platform that we're building was out of necessity. The only way to grow would be to do something new. It could not be done in partnership with aggregators who had traditionally been the most affordable lead originators out there. And so the whole platform is completely integrated and campaigns, positioning, media, tactics, measurement. And by putting the brand first, by really leaning into who they are, and by telling a story that feels more human, we're able to make a difference. We're breaking
Mm.
through and we're getting leads. And so that's been really exciting. Again, brand can mean business for people. So,
Yeah, I want to dive a little bit deeper into that and maybe some things that you can do when you're marketing an insurance business. So, and I'll kind of give you the setup for this. So, when I think of insurance, I think of this, mobster type guy who's like, you never know what could happen. Anything could happen when you're driving. And it's very fear based. And for me, that actually turned me off to, want to buy certain insurance products. Then, fast forward, family, kid. I think the best investment I've made is getting us a good life insurance policy for $1 million minimum.
yes,
For only, I think,
well done.
thank you. Well, it wasn't because of me. A mentor of mine yelled at me for not having life insurance for our family.
100%. Any of the listeners who do not have that, the time is now because it only gets more expensive the older you get.
Mhm. And it's only 33 a month, something like that.
Mhm.
So, what can you do as an insurance agency then to maybe overcome some of those stereotypes people have and build that trust and rapport to purchase something that's a really good product to have for a family? It doesn't have to be life insurance, but in general, just insurance products.
Well, I think the first start is really understanding that most of the people who need these kinds of products, they don't really see themselves as expert
Mhm.
in the product, whether it's auto or home insurance, life insurance, annuities, financial planning. And what I find often happens is the experts drop into their language. They assume a knowledge, or if there isn't a knowledge, or if there's a misstep, there is an assumption that somebody is trying to game the system, right? And
Mhm.
so it doesn't feel like these companies are on our side at
Mhm.
all. Because in this day and age, why would it have to be so difficult to understand?
Mhm.
Why is it so challenging to get a simple thing done? It feels like they don't want to take care of us. And so the most important thing that any brand should be doing, but in particular, a company that has a product that is very complicated, they need to keep it simple. They need to
Mhm.
remember to approach people from an emotional perspective, start where they are, and then build a bridge to assigning them the right product that meets their needs, and then coming back to it and having conversations on a regular basis.
Mhm.
That can be done in person, but it doesn't have to be. There are lots of ways to show up when people are ready to have a conversation in digital spaces, via text, via apps and articles and content, via phone outreach, that is going to be really appreciated as long as it's going to help the person solve the problem that they have right now. Nobody wants to be sold to. So I always say, don't forget your humanity when you're having a conversation with a prospect or a customer, um, and treat it with respect because that's what it deserves.
How has AI impacted your role as a marketer?
So I definitely have a pretty extreme case of ADHD, which could not ever have been guessed by my wait, you want me to slow down answer. So ADHD loves AI. I feel like we were uniquely created for this crazy world that we're navigating, because of the fact that AI can help us get to a destination faster.
Mhm.
Now, that doesn't mean it's without some kind of oversight, and knowing what kind of oversight you need to provide as a human, knowing how to train the LLMs or agents on who you are, what a client needs, what their audiences are looking for, and then ultimately what outcome you want to generate from it. Um, you're able to do a lot of things that are magical. And we're doing that for a lot of our clients, right? So
Mhm.
we're actually creating a policy advocacy product for a major P&C organization using AI. And the reason that we're doing it is because we came in and said, hey, yes, you want to answer your question of what is our AI strategy, but you want to know in what way you're trying to implement that strategy. And we said,
Mhm.
from our perspective, it's a knowledge organization. Any knowledge organization is going to be disrupted by AI.
Mhm.
And you want to make sure that you're doing that you can to preserve the value that you're providing right now, that you're not opening yourself up to a competitive play that is from a tech startup that would use your knowledge and then use AI to deliver it in a better way, and hopefully create an opportunity that's going to set you way apart from anyone else in the marketplace. So we really thought about it in terms of a brand portfolio strategy or a product portfolio strategy, created use cases that way and are building it out. We also wanted to make sure that we protected the humanity and the respect of the folks that are those knowledge holders. And the most important thing is to understand how is AI going to be adopted within your organization. And it's not going to be adopted in a way that means people aren't important anymore because it does things like hallucinate. It
Right.
makes things up. And so you always have to have it so that it is audible. And then also there's some kind of level of accountability. But it sure as heck makes my days way more
Mhm.
productive and I can deliver recommendations far faster. But I've
Mhm.
also figured out how to create my own system within it so that those protections are in place, the protocols are in place. And I'm doing the strategy, not the computer.
Are you seeing these employees as resistant to the AI you're integrating, or do they full on embrace it?
It's the same thing that we've seen with any major technology adoption. I'm a little bit of a dork, and so back in the day, in the 2000s, one of my client industries was big tech.
Hmm.
And you think about Crossing the Chasm, which is a
I have
pretty
the book.
seminal. Yeah, I
The
keep
book's
coming
right
back
there.
to it. It's a seminal piece, for anyone who hasn't
Yeah.
read it, it's still worthwhile. Now, the case studies might be a little dated,
The new
but
one
the
actually talks about Facebook. I don't know if you've read the third edition.
I haven't.
I
No,
just read at the start of the year, they shifted all the companies to be more modern, not like Dell computers from the 70s.
that's great. That's great. Which, by the way, was my client back
Nice.
in the aughts. But yeah. And so, Crossing the Chasm has a really simple framework that's true, I think, right now for the adoption of AI by regular people, right?
Mhm.
Which is you've got that first group who are totally enthusiastic, like I think like me, right? Like geeking
Right.
out, playing around with it.
You're an innovator, I think.
Yeah,
If I
and
were to judge you on the
because
curve.
that tends to be guilty. That tends to be my point in life because I get bored easily. But yeah, so you have the early adopters, but it's going to take a very different approach to presenting the user experience, the value proposition, and the guidance to the next group of people that are going to use this.
Mhm.
So I think probably the things that I love about AI are probably going to still stay scary for a lot of people.
Mhm.
And so what we're doing is applying what we know about change management strategy, about psychology, about training in the workforce, and we're building it into the product so that and the training that will come from that so that we are able to do that translation that crosses the chasm so that
So you
people
think
who
it's still crossing, it hasn't hit
100%.
early majority yet?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a lot out there. There's a lot of commotion.
Mhm.
There are a lot of tests and trials. I think there's a lot of dabbling.
Mhm.
But I think the early majority happens when it actually significantly changes a workflow within a corporation or
Mhm.
an organization. And there's some kind of mandatory. And we haven't seen that yet, not in a meaningful way. I'm sure there are companies that are already identified as early adopter companies. Certainly, tech startups are. But it's really hard to be the innovator. Typically, the
Right.
companies that become big in the next and emerging type of technology are not the first movers. They're the
Right.
second and third. And so I think that we're still seeing that transition from playing around as first movers into
Mhm.
the second and third. And it'll be interesting to see what
Mhm.
happens then. The other thing I will point out is that, we really have a responsibility. So I've been in the business world for 25 plus years. I'm going to stop counting now. And I've always loved to mentor young people and to teach them and bring them along and giving them experiences. But I think that there's a double whammy happening right now between remote working, which makes it hard to have sort of that observational learning, that
Mhm.
latent learning that happens when people learn from being in a room or watching you walk the hallways or the casual coffee that you have. It's going to bump up against AI, which on the surface, the easiest replacement is for junior level types of activities. And those junior level types of activities were what we all learned on. And so I think that with the adoption, it's going to put the onus on companies to understand how do we bring that next generation along so that they have the knowledge and the experience to be able to rise in their
Mhm.
positions. So that's going to be a really interesting management challenge for everybody.
Yeah, and I'll wrap our conversation up today with, I guess, an observation I saw last week. I was at San Diego State University at one of the clubs, and I got there early, and there were two college students arguing about the Russia-Ukraine war. Not in a like combative; they were just expressing different views and having a dialogue, a kind of, what's the solution moving forward on, whatever take they had. And I think that brings back around to AI, that AI is fantastic. It's the wave of the future. And there's what you're saying, there's still some business dynamics that are important to hash out in person that, AI hallucinates sometimes. And, it's fantastic. It's amazing. I use it for 5 hours every single day. And there's still an element of business of being in person and connection.
100%. We have to remember we're still humans at the end of the day, craving human connection. So, how do we keep that in as a part of our strategies moving forward?
So, Kat, to wrap this up, if someone wants to reach out to you, learn more about your marketing work, where can we find you?
Well, you can find me on my website, www.coologee.com. That's COOLOGEE.com. You can find me as Kat Holt on Substack and follow the Brand is Business leadership platform, or just message me on LinkedIn. So
And
it should
it's
be
Kat
pretty
with a C.
easy. Kat with a C. Yep. CATHOLT.
Perfect. Thank you for your time, Kat.
Thank you.
Before we jump into our next guest, we want to take a moment to tell you about our marketing mastermind cohort. No typical marketers. If you are a marketing executive looking to connect with like-minded professionals, this is the space for you. It's more than just a Discord group. It's your exclusive ticket to monthly roundtable meetings where we have group discussions about advanced marketing strategies, share insights, and solve real world challenges like implementing AI agents into your marketing. Membership is exclusive and by application only. If you're ready to take your marketing game to the next level, apply now using the link in the description below. We can't wait to see you there. Now, back to the episode.
Hi, Dr. Orkin. Welcome to the NTM Growth Marketing Podcast. I am excited to be speaking with you today.
Hi, Andrew. I'm happy to be here.
Let's dive in, Dr. Orkin, and hear a little bit about what are you working on these days? You have some exciting things going on.
Well, one of the things I've been doing for a while now is consulting in the gaming industry, in which I provide statistical expertise on whether people who are developing games, usually online games, whether these games are games of skill or games of chance, because they need to have an expert say that their game is a game of skill before they can offer wagering in that game. In many states, it's up to the states, but there are lots of different regulators. There are banks, there are the state regulations, and so on. So that's one of the things I've been working on. Another thing, and I've been doing that for a few years. I'm teaching online at Berkeley City College, which is in Berkeley, California. So I teach elementary statistics. I've been doing that for a long time. And then with online stuff, with technology getting the way it is, um, I'm trying to be um, part of it in various ways. So I have well, I've had a website for a while, and I also have a Substack, which is fairly new.
Mm.
And so
Why did you do Substack?
you mean as opposed to another online thing?
Yeah, is I don't even have Substack, so I'd love to hear from you of what influenced you to have a Substack.
Well, you probably know a lot more about this than I do, but so you can tell me what you have. But I will tell you why, and namely, there were some people with Substack accounts who I like to read, and there are a couple of friends of mine who have Substack accounts, and it was, I guess one of the things was it was so easy to sign up for it, and they let you do a lot of your own. Um, they're fairly flexible, but I'm not the expert in this area. I'm new to that technology. Um, so what's your uh, platform of choice for that kind of thing?
Yeah, I like reading Substacks. I don't actually have my own
Oh,
that I
uh,
populate, just to clarify there. So
oh,
I
okay.
view it as it's a kind of new hip way where if you think about the innovation curve, early adopters, innovators, it's kind of like where the early adopters, innovators might hang out. So very kind of tech oriented folks, people who might be, early adopters, innovators to product adoption. So I see a lot of tech folks use that as a way to build community. And I think it's a more effective way to build community in that sense versus what, blogs were 20 years ago. I feel
Right,
that Substack is more of, where people would go for that attention.
exactly. And I started my Substack account by putting up uh, little articles about statistics that seemed relevant for
Mm-hmm.
what's going on these days, like do vaccines cause autism, things
Mm-hmm.
like that. And I also was using it, still am in a sense, to promote my book, which is the latest edition is called The Story of Chance Beyond the Margin of Error, which is available on Amazon.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about your book, Dr. Orkin.
Yeah, so my book, this is its sort of third iteration, started out a couple of years ago as a textbook for my elementary statistics classes, but then it sort of morphed into a general purpose book, but has the same topics essentially as a statistics class, but without the math. So just lots of interesting things in it, like do vaccines cause autism, basic ideas in probability, things about weird things in probability and statistics. A chapter on lottery, the Mega Millions lottery, a chapter on um, um, a hypothetical lottery called the King's Lottery. I have chapters on various things. Um, that are relevant to everyday life. I have one chapter called was Humpty Dumpty accident prone. I talk about the notion of accident proneness and how randomness um, is involved in a kind of a weird way. And so, if I could characterize my book in one or two words, it's a book about randomness in everyday life. And so I talk about all the things that related to that. It's on Amazon. There's a link on my website.
And
And
so in
so,
having a book, Dr. Orkin, there's a degree of marketing that's involved, even if your background is not, a professor of marketing
right,
at Berkeley. Tell us a little bit how marketing has influenced your book.
right. Well, that's a very good question because I've written some books before, all in the same general category. I wrote a book on gambling games a number of years ago called Can You Win? The Real Odds of Sports Betting, Casino Games, and Lotteries. Um, But marketing these days is a lot different because there are all these online opportunities. And for me, for example, I have signed up with some guys um, who do try to get bookings for podcasts like yours. And so that's a very effective way of marketing for the type of book that I write. Um, now, right now since this book is now in sort of its final iteration, I also use my website. I also, like I said a minute ago, was using my Substack to promote my book.
Mhm.
LinkedIn is another thing. Everything's online, and everything is.
Right.
It's not like, do I want to spend some money on a on an ad in the New York Times?
Right.
It just isn't worth it anymore. I have to
Did
do
you
these online things. And if I had a right now, I'm thinking about trying to get a bigger publisher for the next version of this book. But right now I'm doing okay because I get to sort of do my own types of marketing, which I just mentioned. Also, I should note that my Substack has sort of morphed from short articles about randomness and statistics and things that are also mentioned in my book in more detail. But now it's sort of turned into, right now I've been putting up a lot of cartoons
mm,
that aren't quite related to my book, but which may have sort of connections in some ways. And the
do
reason
you
I'm doing,
illustrate them?
well, so that's you. I was about to, yeah, that's exactly the right question. Do I illustrate them? Well, kind of. I use ChatGPT to do the illustrations.
That's still
So
you. That's your, you got
yeah,
to
it's
have
still
the
me, right?
prompt.
So
Yeah.
it's amazing. So I was just fiddling around one day because I had an idea for a cartoon. So I'm using ChatGPT 5.0, and so I thought, I wonder if because I'm a terrible artist. I mean, I can't, or let's put
Same
it this way,
here.
terrible cartoonist. And so I asked it to do a drawing, and it was amazing. It did in like 10 minutes of going back and forth because I know I
Yeah.
want this, I want that. It came up with this great cartoon, and so now it's opened this door of creativity for me, in a sense. So I've posted a bunch of cartoons on my Substack and have gotten pretty favorable reviews. Of course, on Substack, I've noticed that um, the only negative reviews you get are when people take their email off the list. So,
Hmm.
and I've had a couple of those, but these cartoons have are sort of a sideline because I'm so amazed by what AI can do to help me.
Yeah, so behind me in my bookshelf, I have some comic books below the Star Wars thing. As I was at Comic-Con in San Diego this
Oh
year, so I
yeah,
live in San Diego, and I couldn't help but think as I was looking at all these comic books and seeing people illustrating, just is there going to be a need for this in 5 years as the AI grows exponentially when you can have the perfect customized comic book with flawless illustrations. And that kind of segues into my last question today, Dr. Orkin, is just how has AI been impacting you as a professional? You shared one great example that now you're also a cartoonist. You can add that to your resume, but
right.
how else has AI been impacting you, whether positively or negatively?
Right. So first of all, let me just make a final comment about using AI as to help me with cartoons. I provide all the ideas and stuff. I mean, I guess you could tell AI to draw me a cartoon about such and such, but
Mhm.
I'm much
You
more
need good
specific than that.
prompts. Yeah.
What?
You
Yeah.
need really good prompts to actually get the
Yes, you
output.
need really good prompts, and you have to do, sometimes things I have to tell it to do stuff numerous times, but it's amazing. Now, another big issue that I have to deal with is students use AI to take tests, and so,
Yes.
so I have um, hundreds of beginning statistics students on it's all online my teaching is, and so I guess that makes it even easier to use AI, so I have to deal with that. So I try to think of I'm not some people are on really out to get AI to stop AI from intruding in their test giving.
Mhm.
Some faculty members are like that. Personally, I think that we're going through this change. And like I remember 20 years ago or 30 years ago, when professor in my field, math and statistics, when professors were saying we cannot let students use calculators on a test. And then so you had to do everything by hand, which is what people did 100 years ago, which is ridiculous in my opinion. And so, I always let students use calculators. And then came computers, laptop computers, which you
Mhm.
could, you know, bring along with you and stuff on your uh, smartphone. So then it was, no, they can't use computers. And so every time there's a new technology that will help students, faculty
Mhm.
are against it.
Right.
Now, this one is a little more critical because if AI tools can actually take tests, which they can. I mean, you give them the questions. It becomes a little more um, questionable, but I don't care that much. I mean, I think the
Yeah.
students, if they learn how to use AI, I try to make tests that are a little difficult for AI to use. But if students are going to be using that as when they get out of college, why not learn now? Now there's nothing you can do to stop them unless you want to stop all online test
Mhm.
taking and force students to come to class, take away their smartphones, and have everyone sitting in a room with nothing but a pencil and paper and now a
Yeah.
calculator,
Uh,
which seems kind of silly to me.
that's a thought I've had as
So,
well with not encouraging students to use AI. As a business owner, it would be absolutely crazy for me to tell my staff, no, don't use AI. I don't want to save
right,
money and
right,
time and be more effective for our clients. So I think what I'm hearing
right,
is it's your take on AI is it's a tool to utilize. You're going to be able to be more productive. You can even develop new skills like become a cartoonist that you didn't even know you had,
right.
and really lean into it.
That's right. And I use AI also for research stuff, just to get, if I'm working on I do some statistical research and write papers that I publish in refereed journals and stuff like that, the traditional faculty thing.
Do you use
And
the deep research feature?
sometimes I mainly stick to Chat GPT-5, and I
Okay,
don't do deep research using AI. I just find stuff that's out there. Or if
gotcha.
there's a math problem that I'm not quite familiar with and I know it's heavily researched, I'll ask Chat GPT, what do you know about the law of very large numbers or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's very, very helpful to me in my world.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
was
not going to go away.
I gave a speech to a nonprofit summit in August, and I have always loved this book called Crossing the Chasm. If you, I referenced it earlier in our dialogue by
Yeah,
Jeffrey Moore. It's from the maybe
yeah.
80s, and they've had a few more editions, but it's for the for-profit tech industry. And
Uh-huh.
I thought, why can't these principles be used to nonprofit organizations that have just scaled their impact and
Right.
operating income and donations over the years? And so I went back and forth for about 10 hours with, I use Gemini, and it built
Uh-huh.
me amazing 30-minute presentation. It took a lot
Right.
of input of my prompts and whatnot. And then I used
Uh-huh.
the deep research feature, and it built the
Ah,
20-page report for me
right.
that added more context for the call. And then I use an AI generator to build the PowerPoint deck. So it's fantastic to be that thought partner with you. But to your point
Yes.
too, you need to know the prompts to get the output that actually is going to
Right.
get the results that way.
Right. And you need to know what to ask it. But yeah, Gemini, I've used Gemini too. And a friend of mine uses Claude all the time. I'm not
Correct.
familiar with it. But for me, um, for my purposes, to get, to find out who's published what in what area, what certain problems are like. And as a budding cartoonist, I find that GPT-5 is pretty good. You can see my cartoons if you go to my Substack, which is the name of my Substack is the neutral zone because
Perfect.
as a
Well,
statistician,
Dr. Orkin, how about as our last thing for today, just continue on with best ways for people to reach out, view your cartoons, your book, your Substack, share any ways we can follow up with you.
right. So my website is drmikeorkin.com. Dr. Mike Orkin, one word, no period, just drmikeorkin.com. There's a period before the com. And there, from my website, there's a link to my Substack and a link to Amazon where you can get my book. And if you use Substack a lot, you can go to Substack.com and find a particular Substack. Mine is called the Neutral Zone. And I'm on LinkedIn too. If you just go to LinkedIn and put in my name, you'll find all that stuff and more. Um, so those are the main thing. I still haven't gotten an Instagram account or an X account, or um, I have an old Facebook account that I don't use. So there's still many new media types of things I could be doing, but right now I'm just focusing on those things.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you for your time today, Dr. Orkin.
Okay, thank you, Andrew.